American Enterprises. And so they're both spectacular. Since this is being recorded, we'll have time for questions at the end, and then this will be posted on our Mighty Networks platform. And again, this is partially made possible by Office of Tribal Relations funding. So Holly and Will, whenever you're ready.
All right. Thanks for having us. We appreciate the platform to kind of talk about our experiences selling to the USDA here. If you just want to go to the next slide, I think it's just the introductions. So like Lara said, I'm Holly Francis. I work with the Passamaquoddy Wild Blueberry Company up here in Maine. We have been selling to the USDA for about 6 months now, so we're pretty new to the platform. William has a longer tenure than we do. We sell frozen wild blueberries in 30-pound cases. And we don't actually process our own berries. We own the fields, we harvest them, and then we outsource the processing to USDA inspected facilities here in Maine. And we retain ownership of the berries. So we are in fact the ones bidding on the solicitations. And then I'll toss it over to William.
William McGreevy, owner of Native American Enterprises. I've been participating in the USDA Commodity Purchasing Program, I believe, since 2007. The history of the commodities that we've sold dates back to 2012. We've sold a various meat, sauces, beans, eggs, some which we manufacture in our facility in Wichita, Kansas, and others that we have basically co-packed with other vendors utilizing socioeconomic credits.
Go to the next. So this is our plan for today. We're going to go through, or I'll talk a little bit about the new vendor process that we recently went through and the requirements for that. And then we'll talk about solicitations and how you actually are made aware of these solicitations from the USDA. A couple bidding strategies, and then what to expect once you win a bid. And then we'll both share some stories about whether or not it's worth it to sell to the USDA. So the new vendor process, if you want to go to the next slide. You start the process by emailing the USDA email address. It's just newvendor@usda.gov. And there's several requirements that it looks like a lot and it feels like a lot. And it is a lot of information that you have to compile and write and submit to the USDA. But William and I discussed this last week, and it's all information that if you plan on selling to a big distributor or grocery store or anything like that, you're going to have to put together this information anyway. So what better way to do it than for the USDA? If you haven't registered in SAM, that's where to start. You'll get your cage code once you register, and you can identify your SBA classification, socioeconomic status. We're a Section 17 business, so all of that information is loaded into SAM. Your capability statement is just a little bit about your business and what separates you from other businesses, reference letters from customers that are satisfied with your services already. And then you register for the web-based supply chain management, which is that WBSCM website. And that's where all of the bids are hosted. And then, so for us, we're not the manufacturer, so we have to have a supplier letter from those who are manufacturing. And then William, if you want to talk about the technical requirements.
Sure. So in the different fruits and vegetables, beef, pork, all of the commodities that the USDA buys have technical requirements, which they list out as supplements. Each commodity has a specific supplement, and basically the supplement is your roadmap to tell the government how you're going to produce the product. They do list examples on the website of what they call approved supplements. So they're basically saying, here is what you have to do to make this product and be an eligible supplier. And one of the things with that is each different industry, whether it be the proteins or the fruits and vegetables or the dry goods, does have specific requirements, which do go back to the technical requirements, having a HACCP plan, GMPs, food defense audits. And what that basically, the supplement is basically your flow chart, if you will, on how you're telling the government that you are going to abide by their regulatory requirements. And within that, it is a lot of information. The government is very detailed, but when you do go through these steps, you will see that a lot of it is just answering questions that are in the form of statements. And I believe that will probably be something that is discussed further in the future, as the IAC continues to bring awareness to the commodity program.
So we can go to the next slide. These are just some samples. Nothing is really, it's not anything, crazy detailed or needs to be, you don't need to pay someone to write them for you. These are just our examples. So this is just a very basic manufacturer statement saying that they do in fact manufacture for us, the letter of guarantee, and then the capability statement, I think, is the one that you want to spend your most time with. And I have used our capability statement. I've just modified it from saying USDA at the top for other suppliers. So once you have this stuff written, it's you'll use it over and over again. Next slide. And then we'll go on to how to learn about solicitations, which are actually the bids that are sent out by the USDA. So next slide, there's two ways. You can get email notifications. That's, I think, the best way to do it. We set our NAICS code, which is for wild blueberries, and I get an email anytime there's a solicitation for like the school nutrition program or anything like that we can bid on. The website, the AMS website, also has the solicitations listed there. William, if you want to talk about your experience of the emails.
Sure. For many years I was receiving notifications, and I do pick several commodities to follow. I have seen over the years sometimes USDA may accidentally put beef commodity in a pork solicitation, so it isn't a horrible idea to check more than what you are essentially looking for. Sometimes they do overlap proteins, fruits and vegetables. But occasionally you can randomly just stop getting the notifications, and that puts you in a position where a bid solicitation may be out and you may miss it because you don't go to the website. So I do recommend, if you are signed up for the automatic emails, still periodically go to the website and look specifically in your commodity, just to ensure that you are not missing solicitations. Usually the solicitations do give you 2 weeks from announcement to bid date. I know that varies for the different commodities, but just don't always assume that if you've got the automatic notification, it's good to go double check sometimes. And there is one other area that is worth noting. For receiving federal bid awards, to contact your local PTAC office, Procurement Technical Assistance Center, because by utilization of your NAICS code, they can help potentially find other opportunities outside of USDA, be it any federal purchasing with regards to food. I think.
Move to the next slide.
Next slide.
So pricing bid, we just kind of, if you'll go to the next slide, it has the details. We put together a few ideas that we kind of how we approach bids. So for ours, we look apples to apples at old bids. So 30-pound wild blueberries frozen. I don't suggest looking at different pack sizes because pricing can differ. There is a preference given to small businesses, but it's never a guarantee. So, you know, you just want to make sure you're kind of around what others have bid before you. Your pricing needs to be all inclusive. So your USDA inspection fees, all of your packaging, any so global data synchronization network subscription. So all of these things start to add up. So you just want to make sure that you're pricing appropriately. We build out a spreadsheet and lay in all of these additional fees, and make sure that we're still, as a Section 17, making money to give back to the tribe. So we don't want to be losing money on these. And then I'll let William, if you want to talk about competition.
Sure. So the USDA Commodity Purchase Program has been around for a very long time, and a lot of the vendors providing commodities to the USDA have been in this program for a very long time. So they do know, you know, the ins and outs, and it is very good to know your competition, some be it a non-manufacturer or, you know, manufacturers that are what I would consider to be large businesses, but still fall under the large business threshold with regards to the specific NAICS code. And so within that, you do need to know who you're up against. And there is tools available if you are, I'm in the protein world, so I utilize the USDA AMS website to go back and look at previous market data. We do subscribe to a service called Urnaberry Comtel that can go back years very quickly. And when you have data on, you know, what the market's going to do, what you think it's going to do, because a lot of these bids, you know, you're putting a bid in today, you get awarded in a couple weeks, and then your performance might be for the next several months. So definitely, as Holly said, look back at the previous bids. There's a wealth of information on the USDA website, and when you do get in the program, you might strike out your first time on pricing, but be sure to, you know, do a post review, go back, look at your pricing, see where the market was, compare where your competition was, and it really does become it becomes fun to a degree when you start having to do strategies and when you really do kind of understand what's going on, because sometimes the bids are very low volume compared to certain seasonal times when they're buying a very large amount of product. And so typically when you see the lower bids, everyone's going to be a little more competitive. When the bids do get in the larger realm, that is when you'll start to notice that people will tack on another nickel or a dime. And that is where, you know, you've got a hedge, because there may be times that you got a little upside down on a contract, or I know this jumping ahead a little bit, but yeah, you've got to definitely don't be afraid to do your due diligence and have fun with it.
Okay, we can go to the next. So once you're awarded a bid, which is very exciting, you schedule an inspection with your local inspector. For us, there's one USDA inspector in Maine that looks at the wild blueberries. He goes through a case from every lot that we're intending to sell to the USDA, inspects it to make sure that it is, in fact, for us, it has to be graded as B or A, so B or above. So that's different for each commodity. And then you ship your product. So you should be able to have bill of lading, lot numbers, seals for your trucks. That web-based supply chain management comes back into play when you enter your advanced shipping notice into that program. It tells the person who's receiving it that it is on its way. And then when it's received into the warehouse, they enter that it is in fact received into that web-based supply chain management. They check the cases, make sure that, you know, there's no damaged cases. They'll deduct anything that is damaged. And then you go back into that web-based supply chain management and upload your contract documents, like the signed bill of lading, any inspection certifications, things like that. And then the USDA is actually pretty good at paying in 4 to 5 weeks. We've had pretty good experiences with them paying on time or early. And they'll pay to whatever account that you added when you first registered in SAM. So that registration in SAM is important. That's where you're going to get paid, whatever banking information you put in there.
And on my side, it's very similar. Typically, we will actually be contacted by the auditors. Some of the programs that we do require a grader to be present while we are in production. Some of the programs have gotten a little looser with respect to you can either have a technical proposal or a production plan. And with the production plan, I believe you have an auditor basically come in once a month if you're in continuous production. So if you win a bid that's a 6-month long contract, you'll have to have that auditor come in every month. Now, when I first started in this, it was very, very strict, lots of requirements. I've only seen it become more loose over the years. And so when you first get into this, I do recommend if you're in the protein side, don't take the easy way out and not have a grader there while you're performing the contract, because they are there, they are your set of eyes. And if they are okay with your process and they're watching it and they allow you to ship the product, you know you're going to get paid from the government. The last thing you want to do is skip that step. It does cost a little bit more money, but when you do get comfortable, people forget things. They might not have put the seal number on the bill of lading, which is something that could be a big deal, but if it's an honest mistake, they still take it as a big deal. So it is good to utilize the inspection services, especially if you're starting out. On the protein side, the invoices are paid typically within 7 days or before. It is different by each commodity. And with regards to that, the only thing that I've ever found with regards to payment is if the government does do a shutdown, that will delay payments, but the USDA does incur themselves interest if they're not paying you on time. So we have received interest payments when the government was shut down, and I can't say it was a lot of money, but at least there's a system there for them to hold themselves accountable.
We'll just talk about some of our success stories. So you heard us talk about the inspectors, the auditors. I mentioned that we only have one in Maine for wild blueberries. So when we got approved to sell to the USDA, I reached out to him just to kind of say, here we are, here's my contact information. We're new to this, so we're going to need some hand holding at first. And it's helpful when they know who you are for when you reach out to schedule those inspections. For us, we have a Wild Blueberry Commission here in Maine, and the commission is a really good resource for us because it kind of pools funds for the entire industry. So for us, we sell to the school nutrition program through the USDA, and we have to upload our nutrition facts to the global data synchronization network. And so the commission had already paid to get nutrition facts on wild blueberries. So use those resources around you to kind of save on those miscellaneous fees and inspections that you're going to have to do down the road. And then for us, I suggest starting small on bids. Our first bid, I think we bid off almost more than we could chew, but we were successful and everything was delivered and fine. But maybe depending on your commodity or what the bid looks like, I suggest figuring out how to get one full truckload there, make sure it works, make sure all your processes work, and then grow from there once you have the process down. Yeah,
I would definitely agree. And with regards to inspectors, with whatever industry you're in, you definitely want to know. We've had to fly inspectors from New York to Wichita, Kansas, in times of, hey, we see a bid out, we're trying to get things going and hurry up to write a technical proposal so we can submit a bid. And if you don't know that you have people in your local areas, it can become very costly. So it is good to know as the inspector, you got to come from a different state. If you do have somebody that's local, that obviously helps because you are required to pay for those inspections. With regards to the starting small, definitely couldn't agree more. And as Holly mentioned, They might buy different pack sizes of items. If you're, comfortable with, say, a 40-pound pack and you see them buying 20-pound packs, sometimes it's better to go ahead and look at that as future growth, because sometimes the bids may just start going into 20-pound packs, and you might be able to look internally, small adjustments, but definitely start small, but be open-minded in ways that you can grow within your organization to help your competitiveness, your efficiencies, and definitely crawl before you walk. And the government is, as I like to say, this program's been around a long time, so they're still going to be buying product many years from now.
You'll go to the next slide. So this is William.
Yep. So there's our history, total that I could go back to and find in 2012. Total dollar amount and total pounds sold, which is a mixture of brown product, cooked product, fruits and vegetables. A lot of ups and downs with those numbers through the years, for sure.
If you'll go to the next one. So this is us. Like I said, we've been doing this for 6 months, and it's been good. We've won 2 full bids. The first one was 2 separate purchase orders, but it's been really good for us to offload some of our lower grade berries. We can sell grade A to certain customers for a higher price, but the USDA will buy the B and A, which is really good for us. And it's a really easy way to ship. We like shipping full truckloads versus a single case here and there. So the USDA, the way they award their bids is either a full truck or a split truck. And I think the split trucks have up to 2, possibly 3 stops on them. So it makes it easier for logistics. It's been a very good thing for us to be a USDA vendor.
And to add to that, I don't believe that I've ever seen more than a 3, maybe a 4-stop truck, but it is always typically in the same state.
Right.
So it does not tend to add too much to your freight costs.
And then I think all we have left is the Q&A.
Wonderful. Well, thank you guys so much for your time in this, and I've certainly learned some things, so I hope it's been beneficial for our attendees too. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them. Or you can put them in the chat if you'd like. While you guys come up with some questions, we came up with some on our end. And these are kind of for each of you. So if you want to if each of you would like to answer them, if you could do it all over again, what would you do differently throughout the process?
Holly, I didn't see your responses. I know I had sent some to help me stay on track. Let me find them real quick, Laura.
I can say ours, it's I alluded to it during the presentation, but we have 2 processors that freeze our berries for us. And on our first bid, I bid on 2 trucks from one of them and 2 trucks from the other. And so our very first bid, we were doing inspections at 2 different facilities, dealing with 2 different director of ops and warehouse managers. And it was just a lot. There's a lot of lost sleep over it, but everything was delivered and fine. But I would have started smaller for us.
So being a unique experience, small business, it's very easy to get caught up in you want to do better than your competition. And my example is, if the government is asking for a USDA select or higher grade, don't write in your program that you're going to provide a USDA choice grade, which would be like Holly saying the government is okay with a B and an A. Don't put in your program that you're only going to provide them with A, because if they say they'll accept BNA. That just follow the rules. Through the years, we tried to be creative and thought that it would help give us an upper hand. It doesn't. The government doesn't show any favoritism because you might be doing something better than what they're asking for. And in that case, definitely learn some lessons. And if the program says you can have meat up to 10 days as long as it's held in excellent condition, don't write in your program 7 days, because all you're doing is limiting your ability to fulfill the contract, and you don't want to end up drowning in product that you can't sell them. And definitely start small. It gets exciting. You go through it once or twice, and if you don't perform, the worst thing that can happen to you is the government will come and put you on basically like a restriction. And you don't want to be at a place where you learn the hard way, but then you've got to prove to them for several months that you are capable of producing more than, say, 2 or 3 loads. And so if you crawl before you walk, it will set you up for better success.
This has been really beneficial to me. This is Passamaquoddy. I'm going to be I'll be in Chicago as well. Are either of you going?
I was there last year, but I'm not going this year.
To the NRA, is that?
Yes.
Yes, I will be there Saturday and Sunday.
Okay. We're very new. We're Pemmican Patty Food Company. We've got bison beef and berry bars in 2 flavors, and we're moving into summer sausage. Well, there'll be bison and beef as well. But that's what my partners have been talking about, is how they feel how important it's going to be for us to be able to get these larger contracts.
Yes.
We have somebody else manufacture our products. So our products are manufactured in a USDA approved facility in Wisconsin. And our sourcing is, we would love to be able to source your blueberries, but our products use a dried berry, not a frozen or fresh. So we're
We have
using,
freeze-dried blueberries as well, don't worry.
but freeze dried wouldn't work because they would powder, you see. So a dried berry, but not a freeze dried. It's really been a trick to get our products out there.
Hey, Pat, are you familiar with the commodities that the USDA buys with the ground bison and the bison stew meat?
We have been we've been learning a little bit more about that. We're not a bison producer, actually. We've got the we the people that make our products do the sourcing, and that's where we're working to get native native sourced bison heart. The summer sausage will be made with heart. And so that's my interest in the USDA program. If it's going to be really challenging for us to hop into that, it sounds like you need large quantities.
It's
And we're
all truckloads, and I have participated in bison programs in the past. It isn't as, I wouldn't say it's definitely technical, but it's not as technical as they've made it a little more user friendly than they do some beef programs, because obviously bison, completely different animal than cows. And so but yeah, definitely something we can chat more about.
I would love that. My brother and nephew are actually the business people that are able to put together the proposals and the numbers and such, and we're all very open to conversations. But I would look forward to seeing you at the show. This will be my first round.
It's gonna be a busy 4 days.
Good
Yes.
luck. It is. It's a lot of talking.
Yeah.
You meet
Well, we'll
William and I talked about this my favorite part of the show was meeting the other IAC producers. So it's kind of forging those relationships has been, I think that's one of the best parts of the show.
Yes, I full well agree. And we, we come from North Dakota, and North Dakota will be represented there. We have products, we've sent products to Hawaii, to Minnesota, to a lot of the other places that will be in the Taste of the States area. So just that area will be probably enough for me. Even though there's two other buildings full and events, full. I probably will stay local myself. But thank you for sharing this information, and I'm so grateful for all that your willingness to share your experience.
Yes.
Does anyone else have a question that they'd like to put in the chat or speak on? Okay. In the meantime, what would you say was the biggest hurdle of the whole process?
Holly, I can go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
So once you've won a bid, it becomes easier to win bids. But the big thing is the performance. When you do a bid, you might find things that you thought you had planned out, and oh no, we need to go buy this piece of equipment or that piece of equipment. So don't bid so tight that you don't leave room for growth. But do your best with your team to plan it down to the T, what kind of box you're going to use. If you are using, I mean, cardboard for me turns into something to where if I can take a thicker cardboard and buy a less thick cardboard, but I know that the product is going to fill the box up without it crushing, and it will hold its integrity, that can shave off a few cents a pound for you. So you've got to look at all those details. And again, it goes back to don't do more than what you're required to do. It's not going to show you any favor. This is just purely a process and a bid. But do be open-minded when you are in the contract that you might not have the right piece of equipment or something that you need to buy to put in place that can help you be and perform better the next time. Don't just keep stubbing your toe. Sometimes when you get into this, you learn new things. And one of the other big things is there's lots of documentation, and don't ever assume that just because you sat down with your team and they say they've understood it, it's good to role play that out prior to winning, because like I said, if you forget to write the seal number on a piece of paper, that can be, something that you get a non-compliance for, and it's just better to plan instead of get in a hurry all the time. And I think that's been my biggest hurdle was I did bite off more than I could chew. I have been in the situations where I've been put on probation, where I've been behind on contracts and paid penalties. And through that process, I've learned to, slow it down a little bit. And sometimes a little bit of something is better than a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, for us, I'm going to say don't get disheartened by the application process. Having just gone through it, it took us, I think it was like 8 months in total from the time I first emailed and said we want to become a USDA vendor till the time we actually got registered and set up on the web-based supply chain management. So it's a long process. It's a lot of checklists and a lot of forms to fill out. But use your resources, reach out to William or I, and we're happy to help where we can. It's worth it, but it does take a long time.
And if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. So.
Yeah.
We started, can you hear me?
Yep.
We started our business in 2019 with just kind of an idea of, what we would like to do. And it took off, and within a couple of months we were up on our reservation and we were sharing a product that we loved. And right with that first experience, somebody said, "And so are you waiting for USDA approval on your meat product?" We said, "Well, no, we didn't know we had to have that." So it took us until this time last year to actually have our first bars manufactured. So when the patience and persistence kind of is mentioned, we got that. We got that part covered, I think. It has paid off in spades with what we've learned and the growth that our family has had, right? So our personal experience, there's no money that can compensate for all of the joy and the growth that we've had. Thank you for sharing and listening. Will this be available to us? It says that it's recording. Will any of this be available to us or just our own notes?
Yeah, this will all be available on our Mighty Networks platform. And so this
Perfect.
is the first of a series of Native Market Success Part 2 webinars that are made possible through funding by the Office of Tribal Relations. And so these will be available on our Mighty Networks platform, same place our Meet to Market is, same place our Native Market Success Part 1. Part 2 is more of a deep dive. So these will all be available. And then one final question, unless someone would like to pop one in the chat, is what has been the biggest help through this process?
Holly?
I had a good answer this morning for this one. Um,
I can go. I lost
Yeah.
my email, but it's up now. So, what has been the biggest help through this process? Mistakes, of which I hope to help others avoid. Being able to offer multiple products by understanding the rules and the guidelines. They buy beef in the 410, 41 pound beef roast, beef coarse grind, lots of different beef. And when you understand the rules and the guidelines, the value of copying and pasting. Their supplements, technical proposals are very standard in the respective commodities. So the fruits and vegetables, the proteins. So just because it's beef, you're going to follow the very similar process. How are you going to process it? The shipping, it's basically like telling a story on paper. So, the value of search and replace item codes and numbers. But yeah, once you understand the flow of it, it is the copy and pasting can help save you a lot of time. Because all the underlying rules are very standard. And do not be afraid to ask the USDA AMS questions. Having people around you that are knowledgeable in dealing with problems. I can't tell you how many times through my career in the program, I thought my life was over and I thought I would never get through it. But one, you can't give up. Yes, you might pay some late fees, but fulfill your obligations, because if you fulfill your obligations, the government will let you bid again. Even if you get put on probation, you can get out of probation and again get back to where you were. But it's a massive learning experience, and I wouldn't be here. My company wouldn't be where it is today without the USDA commodity. It is by far large volume. It's there, something you can count on, and it will help open the door for you into other sectors where you can sell food, be it the military, hotels, retail, all those things. It opens doors, and it's something that is always there that you can fall back on.
So for us, it's using our resources, I think, has been the most helpful. Our processors so we've been in business since 1981, but we've never processed and kept our berries. So when we started that in 2021, our processors became very good resources for us. Luckily, they're open and willing to talk about their experiences with, selling to the USDA and allowing us to sell to the USDA under their USDA inspected facility. So build that trust and kind of build that network of within your industry. The wild blueberry industry is pretty small, so having that respect with other members of your industry has been really beneficial for us.
Awesome. Well, if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and close this up. And thank you so much, Will and Holly, for your time and for your expertise. And I know that this is going to be a really great resource to have on hand and for people to reference at their leisure. So thank you so much for your time.